Guys, welcome to the All Leads Suck podcast, where we come to you with the fire, where we talk about marketing and lead generation. Do the leads really suck? Do they not suck, or is it you? My name is Dominic Felix. We've got my man Juan in the building.
This is Sam.
Lewis.
What up?
Guys, you guys ready?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, let's do
Cool,
it.
man.
Let's do it.
So we got my man Juan in the building. He is a beast. He's a beast in real estate in the wholesaling world. A lot of other business aspects. Juan, thanks a lot for coming, man.
Appreciate the invite, man. I'm
Appreciate
excited to be
having you.
here and shoot the shit with you guys.
Man. So if you don't mind, just to give a brief introduction of yourself to the people so they know who you
Yeah.
are in case they haven't seen you before. Highly doubt it, but there might be a couple.
And now there might be a few that don't know, but I'm Juan Nicasio, aka Mr. ACQ, short for Mr. Acquisitions for those that don't understand what that is.
Hey.
Basically, been in the business, in the real estate business, mainly wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, investment world for the last 10 years. I believe I started right around the time that you came into the game. We met at one of those events. That's how we know each other, and we'll
Yeah.
get into the history of that. But mainly in the acquisition side of things, just analyzing deals, being able to do direct to homeowner sales telephonically has been my niche since day one. I come from a background of sales. In the last for the last 18 years, I've been doing all types of different sales, medical supply, insurance sales. I owned a couple different insurance companies,
Wow.
all telephonic sales,
Wow.
all of them, paying for leads, whether they be like direct mail, inbound, what's it called, like Google, PPC, things like that,
Yep.
and closing those deals nationwide. In the insurance world, same thing, nationwide sales. Sold Medicare Part D. For those that don't know what that is, it's like prescription drug plans for Medicare for recipients. I've sold medical supplies like Diabetic Supply company out of here at Sunrise, Florida, actually South Florida, and did that for several years. Then opened up a brokerage to sell insurance individually with the different carriers. Did that for like 10 years, and then ended up in real estate by the grace of God, just because of some switches in the industry of insurance. So forced me to real estate, which I'm grateful for because it's provided an immense amount of experience, good and bad. And bad. Real estate is fun, but real estate is hard.
Oh
Real
yeah.
estate is hard. But yeah, for the last couple years, I've been coaching nationwide, different wholesale and investor based companies in the art of acquisitions, being able to train their individual sales reps to optimize the conversion of the sucky leads,
Right.
right?
Of course.
Being able to learn how to lead manage, how to analyze deals like I do. I've been blessed to have done well over, I want to say at this point, it's a bit over $100 million worth of real estate transaction nationwide.
Wow.
There's very few states that I haven't done a deal in. So I've been blessed to do that. And I've worked with a lot of different top tier operators in our space. Corey Geary, Nick Perry, a couple people that you probably don't know out of Texas, Ohio, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, New York, out of all places, which is one of the hardest freaking states to ever do real estate, period. Yeah, so it's been fun. I've had a lot of experience in that, in branching out and helping people to optimize their team, because you get to see like markets on a national basis, not just like your hometown where oh yeah, in such and such area, this is how much you pay for a property, or this is how much these properties are worth, right? And so I get the insights of what works, what doesn't work in different markets. And so that's been a lot of fun in the last couple of years, successfully grown this sales consultancy, to a sizable
Yeah.
revenue.
That's
pretty
interesting to see, especially the people that know you, that follow you on social media, to see that evolution of you in that side of the industry.
Yeah.
So I remember it might have been, you might have announced it before, but one of the days where you talked about announcing your services on social media, a bunch of companies, smart companies, just kind of nab you up.
Oh yeah.
And that was super interesting to see how fast they nabbed you up and how much you benefited them. So how's your experience been with that over the last 1 to 2 years?
No, I mean it's like anything else. It doesn't really exist. I don't know too many people that because basically I'm like a micro sales director for these companies.
Fractional,
Fractional.
sales
Yeah.
manager.
Yes, correct.
Microwave.
Right. Exactly. Right. And so uh it started with one company. The person's like, hey, I understand that you're no longer doing like the wholesale company. I did run a wholesale company with me and my partner. That's how we met, Freddie. Remember?
Yeah.
And so after COVID, we broke that off, and I was like, well, I want to venture into something else. I want to do something larger. I want to expand to different markets and things of that nature. How do I do that?
Right.
I didn't really have the capital to just start my own wholesale company again, and I didn't really want to do that. And so a friend of mine, Natalie Delgado, shout outs to my, she's like the queen of freaking real estate out in South Florida. Um, she gave me an opportunity to work with her team. She's like, I really need help because I can't train these guys every day. I'm buying all these assets. I'm flipping here. I'm listing properties. I'm doing so much.
Right.
And then my team is sucking because I can't be there for them.
They need that push.
Right. So I'm like, well, let's work this out. Let's start this process. I'll go in here 3 times a week, and I will do role playing with them. I will do comp analysis with them. I will do QC, right, quality control on their calls, so listening, and see where the bottleneck is with your team,
Do
right?
you call it ACQQC?
I like that. Tongue twister there, but that's good. No, I do not. Please let me trademark that.
We'll talk after. We'll cut a
Okay,
deal.
cut a deal. This guy in a
I
deal.
misheard.
So you go to these organizations and you basically train their salespeople
Yeah.
to be salespeople
Correct.
because they're not
Correct.
salespeople.
Some of them are salespeople. They just need that edge. They
Right.
need that extra, that new level, right? Like they've been
Right.
doing the same thing. Maybe their sales are slowing down. Maybe they're just consistently closing the 1 or 2 deals. How do I get this guy to do 3, 4, 5 deals a month,
Right.
10 deals a month? And what is it that's keeping them from getting there?
What is the biggest
I
thing
was
that keeps
just gonna
people
say.
from being able to like go from 1 to 2 deals to like 3 to 5 deals?
Not having the framework, not having certain technique, right? And we can talk about technique. I'll be more than happy to share that on here.
Yeah.
Little techniques that change the game, right? Like they just either have limiting beliefs, they have maybe a lack of know-how, and just a framework. Sometimes there's having conversations with sellers, listening to key words that sellers have, or dragging information out of sellers they should have gotten. Because some people, what they do is they close a lot of deals, or they get signed a lot of deals, but by the time that it gets to the
Dispo.
disposition, man, there's just so many holes in the deal. Oh, I didn't know it needed a probate. Oh, I didn't know that they needed post occupancy. Oh, she never mentioned that, there's a squatter.
3 other people
So
are on
many,
type.
and then
Kinda wanna
They didn't
during
sign
this
the notation
podcast.
indemnification.
they didn't sign that,
Yeah.
right?
I
They
kind of
didn't.
want to during this podcast talk more about the technical parts because like every podcast we're talking about general things and it seems like we have an actual operator so we can
Well,
talk about the technical parts.
yeah. Well, one other thing I want him to finish up because he was going through a story where he got into a relationship with this lady that you gave a shout out to, and then what happened after that?
So
And
then,
then we can-
yeah, and after that, I was like, man, I'm only doing this for an hour a day
Oh, that's
Right?
beautiful.
for 3 days out of the week.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me design my business this way. How many hours do so I, mapped it out. How many hours do I want to work a day? I can give it 5 hours, so I can give it, 4 hours. And
Yeah.
so I branched out and I promoted that service, and organically, because people didn't know me from the industry. I've been doing wholesale. I've done a lot of networking. I've done a lot of masterminds, things like that with big players. And I reached out and like, hey, what's your biggest bottleneck? Right. So I did my whole sales thing.
Yeah.
What's your biggest bottleneck? What's going on? Well, how can you get the business to the next level? What if I can provide X, Y, and Z? And they're like, yeah, let's give it a try. And so it was different discovery that you have to do. Like, how do you price your time? How do you price this, consultancy, things of that nature? How does that look like? Is this a benefit to the business owner? How do I justify it so that it's worth their time? Because remember, I'm fractional. They're
Right.
self that so I'm working in different businesses. Most business operators, they want an in-house sales director,
Right.
right? for sometimes it's lack of resources, sometimes it's lack of many different things that they don't hire somebody like, or hard to find someone like myself.
Right.
Obviously, someone with this level of experience going through, the mud in that industry, it's hard to find somebody else that can do that for you. And so it was more trial and error. And so I reached out to my network. They gave me an opportunity and they snagged me, right? So
Right.
they're like, man, this is freaking great. I see the momentum. I didn't know that you could do this. I didn't know that this technology exists. I didn't know that those techniques exist. Now I see why it is that my team can elevate to the next level. So they'll keep me on retainer. And so yeah, and that's how that
So how
developed,
many
man.
companies are you working with right now?
Right now, 4.
4 of
Okay.
them
Yeah, by choice.
by choice.
Okay.
Yeah, by choice.
Okay.
I was gonna say it reminds me of like you have Andy Elliott who's like so big right now, and I mean he was going into dealerships and doing trainings,
Yeah.
but now he's created a system and a process so well that he has hired trainers to
Yeah.
now go in and do those things. Is that like the next step for you?
That
You're
has to be
thinking
the
more
next
so
step.
going into video, virtual like everybody's doing and selling virtual.
You have a
Nah,
course though.
I have a
'cause-
course.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
seen the course.
I have a course.
Right.
It's a I wouldn't say it's a beginner level course. There is a lot. I do talk about a lot of the techniques and things of that nature. I give the framework on how to have conversations so you can build your sales people to do a good job
Right.
at beginning, sales and getting more deals on the contract with that course. But man, I think people are over courses, right? Like they're speeding it up. They don't watch it all the way through. They need hand holding, right? They need
Right.
accountability is probably the number one reason my business is so successful.
Okay.
You hold people accountable.
You have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Because watching a video
Because
is not gonna
I
cut the
would
mustard.
assume that the biggest problem that these companies are having is the people that are on the phone are not held accountable.
Right.
It's not that they lack systems as much or lack leads as much. It's
Right.
more so the people that are on the phone
Yes.
are not held accountable to do X amount of calls, to do
That
X
and they
amount of
they
conversations.
require maintenance.
Yeah.
Right.
People require maintenance, right? So why do people hire personal trainers and they keep personal trainers for a very long time? Sometimes it's not because they don't know how to work out. It's because they need the motivation.
Right.
They need like, hey, listen, you keep doing that back squat that way, you're gonna blow out your knees or your back.
Right.
And they're like just spot checking that. You know how to do it. You need the accountability though, and you need somebody there to be like spot your weaknesses. And so a lot of business owners, especially in this real estate world, so many hats. Acquisitions, disposition, marketing, transaction coordination, showings, you name it, right? Like there's just
Lead
countless
generation.
countless you're trying to scale your business, so now you're doing business meetings, right? You're trying to, I don't know, get funding. There's just so many aspects to that business. So as a business owner, even if you have a partner, it's so difficult to maintain the teams, right?
Right.
And continuously do the training. You have to. And I don't know about you guys, but real estate in the last 10 years has made a ginormous shift.
Oh yeah.
There's so many different techniques, different marketing, different types of sales that you can do, exit strategies, laws that have happened like we've never seen before. Real estate is an old industry and it's always been done the same exact way for ages.
Right.
Now with technology and things that are developing different exit strategies, it's impossible for a business owner to take that team and show them new strategies or figure out the bottlenecks. There's a new law. How do I apply it? Right. And so somebody like myself, who's nationwide, seeing everything that's going on, I can get all the things that are working for different companies and apply them to your company. So you're like cutting edge, you're ready, you
Right.
know what to do, you're ahead of the game, and you're always momentum forward.
So can we talk about examples? Like the actual juice. Can you give us the
Yeah,
actual
I can
juice?
do juice.
So first I want to know the framework. So you say you're going in there and you're putting in a new framework in these businesses. What's the
Yeah.
actual framework that you're putting in, and how are you even training these acquisitions managers? So when you go into the company, what is it that you're trying to assess, and what type of framework are you trying to put together so that they are successful?
So number one, it would be what kind of sales training have they had, and what conversations are they having,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I have developed a framework, right? It's basically a script, but the script is developed in such a way that it covers a lot of those bottlenecks or holes in the deal, right? Because I've been in the business for a long time, and man, I kept hitting walls, man. Like just
Objections.
not even only objections, but just like problems in the deal,
Yeah.
like problems in the. I'm like, why? Problems that
Don't
every
have any
deal
deals, bro.
It's
problems
hard
don't
enough
have, right?
putting the deal in
Title
your
issues don't
contract,
have
then you
it.
have extra
Yeah.
shit
And then you have
afterwards.
extra stuff, and then so I had to sit back and develop a framework where I can help any acquisition person figure out those bottlenecks, figure out those holes in the sale itself or in the deal itself, right?
Right.
So the framework is literally an introduction, because one of the biggest bottlenecks is how salespeople would introduce themselves to a homeowner or to whomever they're doing business with on the other side, right? A client,
So how should they introduce themselves?
like a friend, like
Okay.
if we've known each other for forever, right?
So
Versus, hey, Mr. Smith.
you assume the rapport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
People want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. How do I do that?
Don't
They
sound like a
almost
robot.
won't do it otherwise.
Yeah. You act like you know, like, and trust them beforehand.
Right. If I call you and I say, Mr. Smith, who you think it's a telemark, it's a
Right,
telemarketer,
right.
or you feel like it's a telemarketer.
Right.
What do you get the attitude, you get the whole thing that you get hung up on. And so if that's the beginning of the funnel, is to talk to people and get them on the phone.
Right.
If you can't get through that, how can you get more contracts?
Right.
Right?
So you got to be friendly. You got to assume the rapport.
Yeah.
And it's as if like, hey, we know each other for 3
Hey,
years
Brian.
now.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Michael.
Yeah.
And then they stop.
The
It's
tonality
like, how
is
do,
different too.
yeah, how do you, who is this?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Juan. Juan the guard.
Yeah.
Juan the coach. Right? But now you can take that opportunity to push through and be like, hey, listen, you actually don't know me.
Right.
My name is Juan and I'm with such and such company. And really quick. And then you diffuse. Hey, really quick. I'm not going to here waste your time. Because people don't want their time wasted. They got, especially for those that do outbound reach, right? They're calling through lists and stuff like that. How many calls is this person getting on a daily basis about the freaking house, right?
Right.
Yeah, at least
They all
one.
sound the same.
Right.
Hey, Mr. Smith, this is Juan from Equity Protection, whatever,
Yeah. Do
housing,
you
and
want to sell your house?
would you like to sell? Click.
Yeah.
The
But if I
problem
come,
is like 90% of them are totally unskilled individuals,
Yep.
thinking they can easily get a deal because they watch something on YouTube.
100%.
Screwing it up for the
Right.
rest of us.
Yep.
correct.
So after introduction,
overpaying.
what's next?
Setting the expectation.
Okay. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
So you once you can get through and ask permission to continue, right? You build that quick rapport with them. Hey, this is it. Okay, yeah, what do you want? Yeah, I'm just wanting to know if you would even consider selling. That's like the key word right there. So if anybody's watching, you use that right there, your conversion rate just increased by like, I don't know, 30%. Literally, just doing that. If you would even consider selling, they stop and they're like, yeah, it depends on the offer. Okay, great. Well,
Right.
you don't know me, right? So let me just tell you a bit about us. Why do I do that? I let them know what we do, because you're a random person calling, and it doesn't matter if you're calling from a company, you're calling for individual. I'm an individual. I'm your neighbor, and I want to invest in property, or I have this conglomerate company, or I work for a fund. It doesn't matter. They don't freaking know you, and they
Yeah.
don't know what you do or specialize in. So a lot of people, what they do is they spend time with unqualified sellers. There's a
Right.
such thing. There's
Right.
such thing as an unqualified seller. Why? Because if I get on the phone with somebody, they're like, yeah, depending on the offer, my house is perfect, and you got to give me a make me move price.
Right.
But you're here looking to do a deal, and where you're getting a property under contract for a significant discount. Is that the qualified seller that you should spend the next 30 minutes pounding them on questions about the condition of their property?
Right.
Why?
They may not even want to sell.
Why?
I have a reason.
They
why.
may be wasting your time.
Practice
Yeah, but
Yeah.
for a new person.
for a new person, that's totally okay, I guess. But time is money.
No.
Yeah.
Totally
Right.
with you. Totally with you.
Time's
I'm playing
money.
devil's advocate.
And you
So
gotta
I
have a
like
lot of
how
combos a day.
you call out the elephant in the room when like they're not saying that I don't know you, but you know that that's what they're feeling. So
Yeah.
when you call them, in their head, the only thing that's going through their head is, I don't know this guy. Who am I even talking to?
right.
So like when you call it out, that objection is basically gone. So they're not even thinking about it anymore.
So if you go through the whole framework, all right,
Okay.
which I can provide to anyone, it's free on my
Well,
schools.
let's go through it. Let's go
But
through
anyway, it's all built where you're overcoming objections before they even
Right.
happen. The
Right.
whole script is that way.
it. I
Right.
like
The
that.
entire script is that way, right? Because why not get over the inevitable?
Right.
Why not uncover things that may come up instead of you getting so excited to get this deal done, right? So then like you send a contract and they never sign it. Or you go through a 25-minute conversation, the price is completely wrong and you just wasted 25 minutes, 30 minutes with someone that didn't even qualify to be on the phone with you. You could have taken that time to find the person that did qualify and get that deal for that day versus
Right.
going home defeated, right?
Right.
And so the whole framework is designed that way, overcoming the inevitable, overcoming objections before they even happen. So I train everybody. It's like, hey, the easiest way to overcome objections, and people always reach out to me, how do you overcome this? How do you overcome that? Well, did you ask this first? Did you get to that point before that even came up?
You bring up the objection yourself before they
Right.
brought it up.
Because it's the easiest way,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
So, quick question. So, when you're analyzing a salesperson or team, right? When you're comparing their actions to your framework, are you able to go through your framework and compare it like with a call or a role play or whatever and be like, the reason this happens is because you missed
Exactly.
this here and this down here?
That's it.
And another question after that is, when they start changing to using those things, are you seeing it being fixed in real
100%.
time?
In real time.
Really?
In real
Wow.
time.
Because what you're doing is like, because a lot of people are just they're their own individual operators. Most
Sure.
people out there in wholesaling, especially, are individual operators. So you're able to see it on a multi-team level on how it changes people in real time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can
Absolutely.
you talk a little bit about that? Maybe something that you've seen or
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the moment you start applying that, you start feeling a little bit more relaxed. You're in more control of the call. You
Mhm.
understand what I mean? So you do see it in real time because what ends up happening is once I can pick apart that call, even whether I hear it live or I hear a recording of their call, which everyone, that's a nugget. You should be recording every single sales call. I don't care what industry you're in. The only way to get better and to elevate is for you to be able to play it
Where
back.
do you find the time to watch it?
Huh?
time is
Where do you find the time to
Man, I do everything on 2x, man. 1.5 to 2x,
Oh, yeah.
but as far as like, because again, like
well, that's his focus.
that's my
I think
Oh,
you're
you
thinking,
watch that. You
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
that as
yeah,
the
yeah.
man. Oh,
Well,
I
I'll do
think you're thinking of at the owner's level, you're running a whole company. Like,
Right.
how do you even have time
no,
to
I thought
listen to?
his
Because one call
salespeople.
can be 30
I
minutes.
thought the salesperson has to like, because I
listen
think
to
that
it. No,
yeah.
they're not gonna listen to their own call. I mean, very few are that disciplined to do
Right.
that and say, hey, let me listen to myself and see where I dropped the ball compared to the framework that Mr. ACQ provided, right? So again, that goes back to accountability. What do I do on the next day's agenda?
Yeah.
Let's review the call. I
Yeah.
look at the longest call that they've had, past call it 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and decipher where they dropped the ball or where they did well. Because I'm going to applaud you if you did a phenomenal job. Like,
Right.
yeah, you didn't do anything wrong here because you went through boom, 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 boom. This wasn't a qualified seller, so you did fantastic. Let's put it on follow up, right?
Yeah.
Or, hey, why, when they told you that they're listing it with a realtor, you didn't dig into the realtor information?
Right.
It's in the framework.
Right.
Oh, man, you're right. And
Dude,
then
I
they
wonder
really
if you could come up with an AI system that would review those calls and compare them to the framework.
You probably
I'm
can.
sure.
Oh, I
Yeah,
bet
it's
you
training.
we have access to something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share a couple of nuggets with the audience about like what are some of those realtor objections and rebuttals that you can use to overcome it?
Yeah. So I do a lot of inbound lead generation, right? So these folks are searching for answers to their real estate needs. So the number one thing I do is like before I even as soon as I set expectations and I to let them know what I do, like, hey, and everything that I do, a lot of it is like curiosity. I'm like, you know what? Out of curiosity, why why haven't you listed this property with a realtor? That's,
Mhm.
and I say that, Mr. Seller, because 9 times out of 10, when people want to sell their property, they call it a local realtor. Don't you know a local realtor?
Right.
Right. And then
Everybody knows a realtor.
everybody knows how
Yeah.
in the state of Florida, because we're here in Florida, There's over 254,000 registered agents.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody knows a realtor.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's
So
16,000 just in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
so then why not overcome that objection before it comes up?
Because if you ask them a why questions, they're gonna give you reasons why not.
Right. Which now you put that in your tool belt. So what you want to do is you almost like a you're like an investigator. You're like interrogating without feeling like it's an
Without them knowing
interrogation.
that you're
Exactly.
interrogating.
Right. I just curious, like why? Because typically that'd be the best way for you to sell your for you to sell your
Right.
property.
Yep.
No, the thing is, and now you get the thing, right? So now you put it in your back pocket. Then you go through, you continue with the framework with, the other aspects of
So
it.
you
like-
have intro, setting expectations,
Mhm.
and then finding motivation.
That's right.
Okay.
Finding motivation. And then when you ask that question, let's say you ask the realtor question, it can lead right into it, flows perfectly into pain, right?
Right.
No, the thing is, I need to move quickly. But why? What do you mean by quickly? Is that 30 days? Is that 60 days? Like by when do you need to, get this transaction done?
And then
Oh,
they say yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday. Wow, I mean that's super fast. Like, tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, what's got you having to sell this quickly?
Right.
Right.
Boom. Oh, sickness, divorce, inherited, can't pay the taxes. Now you're getting it, man, and then you dig into that pain. I spend a lot of time there, and I tell people if there's no pain, right, there's no discount
There's no gain.
because there is.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Think about it. If you have an asset, such as a real estate, right, property, and you have no pain, you have no rush, you have no urgency, why in the world would you sell this property at a discount?
Right.
Any asset, really, though.
Any asset, doesn't
Anything.
matter what it is,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
'Cause
Why?
like even stocks, the stocks are only going on discount when there's something going on.
Something's
in the
going on, right? And so any market is the same. There's got to be some sort of motivating factor
The
for
stress.
somebody to sell at a discount.
Yep.
So if I can't discover that, then you don't have a deal.
Right.
So when my clients or their staff comes to me and I ask them, because one of the first questions like, yeah, I need your help underwriting this deal. They're asking this price, and
What's the motivation?
why are they looking to sell,
Right.
right? And they have to come to me with a legitimate answer. It can't be like, yeah, because they just want to sell fast. They don't want to work with a realtor. Why not? Oh, I really didn't ask that. I'm like, well, you don't have a deal, so I'm not analyzing the deal. Go back to the seller and find out why they haven't done that. So it changes what they do in real time because now I force them to make that call again and fix the things that they missed, the holes in that sale process that they missed.
How would you go back to somebody you already spoke with? You ask them, why are you selling? And then now you have to, and they just said, or why aren't you listing with the realtor? I just don't want to list with the realtor. Now you have to go back and ask again. How would you go back into that call if you're the salesperson?
Yeah, so I'm literally going to be like, hey, I'm so sorry, my underwriter. They were just curious because they see an opportunity for you to list it, and they wanted to know why wouldn't you list the property or whatever the case may be. Like, hey, I understand that you inherited the property, but my underwriter, right, or my manager or my purchasing
Blame it
manager,
on someone else.
somebody else, right, said
Always.
they need a little bit more information, right?
The
In
boss
regards
man's
to that,
asking.
the bossman's asking about the probate. Did you file it already? You're working with an attorney. I forgot to ask you. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Right? And just come back.
So
right?
blame it on someone else.
Blame it on
basically.
somebody else.
So I want to ask you a question about the leads, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many moving parts of the company. You talked about it earlier, right?
Right.
You have the marketing, you have the lead generation, you have the sales process,
Mhm.
and then the deal's not over after you lock it up. You have to disposition it. You have to put out fires. You
Yeah.
have to bring them to terms on closing because after you've locked it up, in very many
Yeah.
cases, there's other offers,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden,
All of it.
there's a higher offer, right?
Yeah.
So you have all these moving parts.
Yeah.
They're all super important in order to convert and to get that payday, $10,000,
Correct.
$15,000, $20,000, right? So since they're all important and they all have to be tweaked and adjusted and almost perfected, someone can just jump in and get a lead and not perform and they think the lead
100%.
suck,
Oh, absolutely.
right? Why would that person think that the lead suck?
Because lack of knowledge, experience.
I agree with that. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They may not know how to handle something like that. Oh, so the lead sucks. all the properties listed. That lead sucks.
So I know
Yeah.
that you have your framework. What else have you seen and helped with in these people's companies that have helped improve the conversions and the overall operation so that they think the leads suck less?
Marketing.
Marketing. Okay. So they're doing their marketing inaccurately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not inaccurately and inefficiently sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it may not even be inaccurate.
Sometimes
They're
it's
doing the
volume.
process the right way. They're just missing, again, like I said, those little tweaks to get them to that next level. Again, if you're a company that you're doing 1 to 3 deals to 5 deals on a monthly basis, the way that you've been doing it always, and I come in there and I can just find 1 or 2 things, now all of a sudden you're at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deals on a monthly basis, right?
Mhm.
Just because of one tweak. I'll give you a very great example. Guy calls me. I always do like a discovery call with whomever I'm going to work with because I'm very selective on who I'm going to work with.
Right.
It has to be somebody that has liquidity, that has experience. I'm not doing, wholesaling one-on-one. That's not what I coach at all. I'm here to optimize operations, right? And so the gentleman calls me and we go through the whole framework. Like, okay, talk to me a little bit about what you're doing. What does your marketing look like? Oh, we pulled a record of 10,000 people and we've been hitting that list. Oh, how are you hitting that list? Oh, we have cold callers out of X country, and they're feeding us, the leads. How many leads are you getting? Oh, on average, we get like 1 or 2 leads. Okay, great. When was the last time you pulled, that same list, or when's the last time you pulled lists? Oh, we haven't pulled it in the last
We're
6
calling the
months
same
to
one.
9 months, and
Ooh.
we're going, okay, no, that's totally fine. I get it. I
Yeah.
completely understand. Now, how often
Relax, bro.
how
Oh,
often?
boiling.
I know it's crazy. How often then? Okay, fine. You're not pulling any more lists, but
Right.
then how often are you re-skip tracing it? Well, we haven't. I'm like, so you have your call center dialing the same exact numbers from the same exact list for the last 6 months,
Dom's about to explode over there.
right? And so I'm like, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you go scrape that list, all the people that you already have in your system, and you have accurate numbers, remove it.
Yeah.
Take that list that you haven't been able to get a converted opportunity, re-skip trace it, do yourself a favor because numbers change, things change,
Oh yeah.
people move, bunch of stuff, and give your people an opportunity to speak to. Because if they're just dialing all day, well, number one, you're spending money on cold callers doing nothing all day long because
Yep.
they're going to call the same exact list. It's going to go on the queue. They're not going to answer your call, and
They think they're
answer
saving
rate.
money, but they're spending
they're
even
spending
more.
more money.
Well, I think a big part of what they might be missing is, especially in this industry. In this industry, what are we targeting? Motivated sellers in distressed situations. They
Yeah.
either want to or need to sell,
Yeah.
right? And they need to sell for a reason.
Right.
They're in some type of distress, whether it's financial, pre-foreclosure, whatever the heck is going on in their lives, divorces. You're not the only one calling them.
Absolutely.
Do you understand there's a million people calling them,
Mhm.
not only for their house, but they're probably behind on creditors and bills and all
Absolutely.
that stuff. They probably changed their phone number at some point.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So you
Absolutely.
think it's going to be smart to not re-skip trace that list and call that list 6 months
But
later?
you have to be in the game. You have to be in that world to be able to point that out because
100%.
that again, it goes back to being a business owner again. I'm here talking to you guys in regards to like teams because this is what I'm specialized in right now.
For sure.
If you're a one-man show, you probably have the time to do that.
Yep.
But as a business owner, you're running, right? And so unless you have a head of marketing, which most of these companies do not
Right.
have that, right? They may have an acquisition guy, disposition guy, a transaction coordinator, and that's it, and a couple VAs to do odd
The other
things,
things,
right?
They're doing the marketing.
So
Yeah.
and they still wear all all the hats, right?
hats.
Because they still have to train the acquisitions.
Plus that.
They have to do the disposition. They still
Yep.
have to help the transaction coordinator. They have to make sure that they're paying for whatever marketing that they're doing, but they're not marketing experts.
Working with humans is so hard.
It's hard. And this business just has so many moving pieces, right?
Yeah.
And so just that's one example. Then boom, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. So they'll go re-skip trace it. I'm like, hey, who else did you skip trace that is related to that
Yeah.
potential prospect? Oh, we haven't done that. I'm like, well, maybe you want to tap into the wife, the daughter, the grandfather, the uncle, the whomever,
Yeah.
because they might be able to give you information about the property that is in distress because that person may be, like you said, avoiding all types of creditors and telemarketers and stuff like that. And
Yep.
maybe there's a back door. Oh
Right.
shit, and think about that. So there goes the increase, right, in productivity. And not necessarily is it like jumping from a marketing budget of X dollar amount to this dollar amount. It's just those little tweaks now gets you more opportunities because you got more people to speak to.
Right.
You speak to more people, you inevitably get more deals.
Right. Because that's
a
another
numbers
part of it.
game.
I'm glad you pointed that out because, a cold call lead and an inbound lead are two totally different
Yeah.
things. You might get anywhere from 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 15 on the inbound lead. The cold call lead is probably going to be like 1 out of 40.
Right.
It might even be a little bit
Might
more
be
if you're
higher.
not doing your marketing. Because if
Correct.
this guy's calling 6-month-old lead lists,
Oh,
1 out of 100, 1 out of 120, like.
Well, and doesn't the
And then
answer rate go
even
down?
with that, if
Yeah.
you know the numbers to expect, then you know what it takes to get a
Correct.
deal. What's
Right.
that?
I was saying, doesn't the answer rate go down? Like based on when we had the VAs,
Nothing
I mean,
goes
by
up
the
after that.
yeah, at the end of the month, I
Problem is-
mean, it was like pulling teeth just to
Right.
get these guys on the phone for a little bit.
Yep,
You
yep.
know,
It's tough even when the data is fresh.
that's true
Right,
too.
right.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a
that
lot,
is
man,
true.
that we can dig into. Even you have some teams where they are basically burning out their acquisition people because they have unqualified leads going into the system. They just, oh, they said they want to sell, right? So from the beginning of the marketing, they're doing that incorrectly. So they're just funneling a whole bunch of stuff. So the acquisition people are spending their time talking to folks that are not even qualified or motivated at all.
Yep.
And that burns you out as a salesperson. So by the time that you do get somebody on the phone, you're going to forget the framework. You're so tired or you're overly excited. So those two things happen. Either you're overly tired and you're going to miss a bunch of stuff, or you're overly excited. You skip a whole bunch of stuff and then you put a bad deal together.
Show them your cards even.
Yeah, of
Just
course, because
go
you're
for the highest
desperate.
number.
Yep.
You're desperate.
And you start putting bad deals together, and
People
they
love
fall
to go
apart.
to the highest numbers.
They
They
do.
love it.
Yeah. Which I love that objection. Oh, you got that price? Why in the world haven't you taken that? You know what, sir? I think that you should hang up with me right now,
And
call
them
that
back.
person because you might lose that deal. That's
Yeah.
a phenomenal deal. Well, the thing is, and then they give you the thing, right? So it goes back to
Yep,
to
yep,
that.
yep.
So what do you do when you're working with a salesperson, right? And whether you heard them live on a call, you heard this recording, and say they did lock the deal up, right?
Mhm.
But when you heard them on the call, they're like, we definitely love this area. We would love to buy something in this area. We're really, really interested in your house.
Mhm.
Like, do you think they're giving too much to the seller too soon? Do they have to play like, I'm not really sure if we can do it. Let me see what's the best I can do.
Yeah.
We're only buying
like that
another
style.
property.
I
So
like that style.
what do you do when they're overzealous like that?
I always tell them like, listen, do never be overzealous, right? You run in an abundant mindset, and that's another topic that we should cover.
It's hard
'cause-
for them to get in that mindset though.
Oh, but it requires the training again, and
Yeah.
it goes back to that, right? Like, so any team that I take on, I absolutely do a mandatory mindset training, mandatory, and then we'll practice that on a weekly basis because I want to make sure that they are in the right mind space to be able to do this business. Because again, there's a lot that goes into it, but getting them to be in that abundance mindset changes a lot of things, right? Because now it's not like, well, I'm pressured because my boss says I need to get 2 contracts this week. And so now you're working from a place of scarcity versus abundance. And so it's like, listen, you don't need this deal. You're going to do your very, very best to service this person. You are the best solution engineer alive, right? You are here to
Solution engineer.
All right.
Oh, that's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
like that.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and a seller be sold, right? So here, you're going to have this conversation where you're only looking for 1, maybe 2 more properties in the next 40 to 45 days. And I'm a qualified buyer and ready to purchase the property if it's a good fit for what we are looking for. So instead of it always like, yeah, I'm your buyer and I love this area and I want to buy this house. Like, oh, I got you. Yeah, I want $500,000 for this property, right? It's like, oh shoot,
So it seems like you're leading into like we went from intro to setting expectations to motivation, and now we're talking about closing
Mhm.
the deal.
Yeah.
You
Couple of conditions in there, right?
Right.
Because that's, but I leave that for after pain, right? Because
Right.
again, without the pain, we
That's
don't have.
not as important as everything else.
I tell people like, hey, that house has been there for 100 years, man. Yes, it's important to understand that, like, if there's electrical issues, if there's a roof issues, foundation issues, et cetera, that's just gonna fuel more of a discount, right?
Right.
But the discount comes from the pain. So
Right.
stay there until you don't figure
So
out.
you go to motivation,
yeah,
condition, and then you go into the closing.
Yeah.
And the closing is by you letting them know that they need you more than you
Right.
need them.
So now the closing doesn't happen unless my team literally has the who, what, where, when, why, how.
Right.
If you don't have those, it's just like elementary, right? Like my
Yeah.
kids are going into third grade, and that's literally all they do is read a book, and they have to put in the who, what, where, when, what, how. And if you just practice that same elementary process, you'll have so much information about that deal to know what solution to provide. Remember, we mentioned that now we have multiple solutions. It's not just a cash hammer deal. There's some people that can't even get a cash offer because they don't
It
qualify for
doesn't
that.
make sense.
Right? It doesn't make sense. So why would you
Yeah.
go ahead and give them a cash offer if that's not what they qualify for?
Right.
I always like to look at it similar to like dating. You know, it's a delicate dance. You don't want to be too excited
Correct.
because then you just an immediate turn off, and
Correct.
you don't want to be too far on the other side,
Right.
pulling back too much, because then you just seem like you really don't have any interest, and it's almost disrespectful to them. So you have to
100%.
play that
It is
perfect
it is a
game of like
dance.
back and
It is.
forth.
You can't get a boner in the first
No,
minute,
you
bro.
can't.
No, you
You
can. I mean,
cannot.
like you said, you get people who haven't been on the phone for a while. They're so excited to talk to somebody. They put a deal together, and they end up paying $425 or
like
$410 for a
you
property
meet
we
the
buy for
chick at the
$370.
club and you start to
That's
dance
what I
with her.
mean.
You don't
Yeah.
want to get a boner,
Well,
so you pretend she's an ugly dude.
Yeah.
Right?
you're not
You
like
gotta pretend like you don't want the deal.
you don't just buy a drink and go, "Hey,
That's
can I
the
take you
deal
home
that
now?"
we have right now. So we have a deal right now. It's in Alabama. The lead came in on the weekend. It was an inbound lead. I got him on the phone. I spent about an hour with the guy. I wasn't making any offers or throwing any numbers. I made the guy negotiate against himself.
Nice.
He was asking like $450,000, and then actually closer to five. I think it was 475. And he was like, when I called him, because when the lead comes in, we ask him in the
Right.
form. So he put 475. When I called him, he's like, I want
I
500.
love it.
I love that.
So I spoke with him, spent about an hour with the guy. Long story short, I got him locked up. It was Sunday for 370.
Nice.
The houses nearby are selling for millions of dollars. The ARV is probably closer to 750 because it's a smaller one. So anyway, we go through that deal. We're like all excited, happy. About 5 days later, somebody calls us and says that they have the same deal.
Right.
So somebody else locked him up. I was the only person that called him on the weekend. Nobody
Right.
else called him on the weekend.
Right.
Yep.
So this guy signed 2 more
Of
agreements.
course.
One the next day and one the following day.
Yours was first?
Mine
Yep.
was
Oh,
first.
thank God.
Yeah. So this guy signed 2 more agreements. The next agreement he signed was for 400,
Yep.
Right.
and then he signed another agreement for 410.
But you know whose fault that is?
Who?
Yours.
Why?
Because this is what I do. Did you when you put it under a contract, did you have that conversation with him how this is a legally binding contract? And
man,
if anyone
Or
okay, I was hoping that
course.
Yeah.
Not only I did that, I went line by line with him over
Through
the
the whole
contract.
contract.
okay.
I don't sign a contract unless he
That's
understands
perfect.
it 100%. So
That's
we went
perfect.
line by line, but it's just an
He's
old
an older
guy.
man.
And he called us back too. So this is how we found out he has the contracts. He called us back asking us to release him.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
love
like,
that.
I need a release, this and that. So we went through everything again. So now he's working with us again.
Love
Yeah.
it.
And not only that, our contract trumps everyone else because we signed it first. He understands it. Everybody else understands it too,
Right.
like the other
Yeah.
2 wholesalers. So they're trying to work with us too now.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
So
it's just funny they're willing to pay an extra $30,000 to $40,000 for
thing,
the
yeah,
same,
they
so
went so much
10%
higher.
higher,
Correct.
because they're probably getting excited that they got a deal in. They
Mhm.
probably don't have very good deal flow. They're not talking to enough sellers. And so they're willing to pay 10% more essentially on a property that,
Just to get a signature.
we're not willing to spend that time just for the signature. If we don't know we can't sell it, there's no
There's
reason
no
to go
reason
through
to
this
do it.
whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
And so, that's again the balance,
right.
right? And I'm glad you brought the contract thing because that's where a lot of folks also are not converting, right?
Right.
So remember, my
Yep.
whole job is to help you optimize and get to the next level. How do you get more contract? And that's part of the process. It's just they're not taking the time. They get so think about all the moving pieces. You got to do marketing. You got to call for hours. You have to dial hundreds of people to finally have a decent conversation. Then they have to qualify for what you're looking to purchase or put on their contract. So you're spending all this time, and sometimes it may take 3 months with that seller. Maybe it takes 6 months. I have deals that we're closing after 2 years being in our CRM.
Yeah.
And then you fumble the bag, right? When you send the contract and you're not treating that in a sensitive manner, meaning this is the most important part of the deal is getting the deal signed, the contract signed.
And they have to
And so you're just
understand what
sending
they're
it.
signing
And
to.
they, right, and so then you get ghosted because they don't understand the contract. They sign things that they don't really fully understand, and they want to back out, and so the deals don't stick. Now your fallout rate on your contracts are 50, 60, 80%.
Right.
Yeah, it's too high.
So it's a training issue, right?
Yeah.
Because people that are not as experienced or are not spot checking or not taking that time of getting through the actual close, which is getting that thing signed and having the seller fully understand what it is that they're signing. Because remember, these people are distressed already.
Right.
They're looking for quick, easy answers. They don't do this every single day. They don't sell properties every single day. They're unfamiliar with documentation like this. Sometimes in their own excitement or their own, situation, they're just signing away, or they're so scared that they don't sign at all because you didn't make it comfortable. And so just that aspect as well increases your conversion rate.
The closing rate.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I'm kind of putting us all on the spot because you might have to go deep in the memory banks, but I'm curious if anything jumps out at you as far as like a lead that someone thought sucked, but then it wound up being a great deal with a great spread. Does anything come to mind with that recently or any time in the past? Because
it almost happens every day, though.
that's true.
Just because I have so many leads, so many teams. So it's
I have one that I actually remember hearing about from you. I think somebody was using back when we were providing AI leads, and they didn't like the lead, and you ended up calling that person first dial and putting them under contract, and then I think it was like a 40K spread you had on the deal. And it was like the third or fourth phone call that you had made that day. And you're like, how can you say this? It was 4 phone calls and we just made 40 grand. Like, what are you guys talking about?
Right.
Like how often do you find that type of situation happens to
It happens way too often.
Really?
That's why I'm in business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's the thing is that you have to have a trained ear, because we're doing this over the phone, right? I'm not doing in-house appointments, to understand like when a seller says X, how to reply to that, or what does that really mean, right? Or just dig into what that really means, even if you don't understand what he's saying, right? Like, oh, I already sold it. Really?
Yeah.
I just checked
Did
public
they get you
records.
paid?
Right. Did you? Oh,
The
so you
money in
close
your
escrow?
account?
So I go back. Oh, you close? No. I mean, I have a contract right now that I'm going to sign. You didn't sell
That literally
anything.
happened
So that
yesterday.
converts into a $40,000 deal. Why?
Yeah.
Because, oh, well, tell me about a little bit about that, because maybe I can be your. And I don't go in there like a shark and say, oh, well, I want to buy it from you first. No, no, no. Well, tell me a little bit about it, because I've been in real estate for such a long time, and I know that even if you get a good price or you go on the contract, there are just certain things that may happen before closing. And what I would love to do is just be a backup buyer.
Right.
And so if anything does happen, at least you can rest assured that I'm here to pick up the pieces. Tell me a little bit more about that offer.
You really
And then
want to
I'm
be the primary.
I do, but it's in, it's incognito mode, right?
Hey.
And so they'll tell me a little bit about that. Oh,
Go through
wow,
the back door
interesting.
first.
Sometimes you
Yeah.
gotta be the side piece before you can be the main
And then they
piece.
hear you like, wait, is this one? I saw
Right.
you on YouTube.
Right, so you click. I haven't had that happen yet, which is odd,
That
but
is crazy.
because I'm easy to search, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, but you can convert opportunities like that, and
Right.
and if you're newer or you don't have the experience or you just don't know, it's some of it is ignorance. You just don't know.
Right.
To ask that question, to go a little further about like, what does that mean you sold it? What do you mean you sold it? Oh, you went escrow? Oh no, I'm going to sign the contract today.
Yeah, with
Come
my
on.
neighbor.
So I want to kind of make this interesting because we went through your framework.
Yeah,
Now we know exactly what you do.
great.
We have trust in you. But you said you go into the companies and
Yeah.
then you role play with them.
Right.
Should we role play on the podcast?
We could do that.
Let's do it, babe.
That's fantastic.
All right.
Who's
So
Sam
I can be the seller or the buyer. You tell me.
Be the buyer.
I'll be the buyer?
Yeah, let's see what you got. And then I can critique it.
Perfect.
I love
I
that.
like
I
that.
love that.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Can I
That's
be the phone?
fantastic.
I just want to ring.
You're the AI bot. You're the AI caller.
So you say ring, ring, and we start?
Yeah.
Just give me a background. How did you come in my CRM? Is it
I
an
call-
inbound or an outbound?
AI lead.
AI lead.
Ellie.
That's
So it's
what
a
you guys
live
do, right?
transfer.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a live transfer.
Love those.
You know, Jacksonville, Florida, 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, wood frame.
Okay.
I know you guys
How
love
much
that.
can I pay?
Well, that's, I mean, you know your own market, but let's just say Zillow, right? Grand Zillow says that it's 125 or whatever. What's your average here?
Probably
The
230-ish.
average is 300.
300?
Average is
All right.
closer to
Family home
300
price
now?
is 300.
So Zillow says 275 is what
Okay.
my house is worth, and we go through there. Because it's your job to
Say
discover.
ring, ring.
Ring.
Hey, is this Juan?
Yeah, who's this?
This is Sam, Juan. I'm calling about this property that it came in my system.
Oh, another guy calling me about a prop. What do you want?
How many people called you already, man?
I mean, that's none of your business. What are you offering?
It depends. What do you have? What do you have that you're selling? Is this property on 123
I-
Main Street? Is that the one that you're trying to get rid of, or have you sold it already?
I'm not looking to get rid of anything.
Okay. Are you looking to sell it?
Potentially for the right price.
What's the right price for you?
Well, you guys called me interested in the property. What is your offer? Because I keep getting these calls every single day about my property.
Let's do this one. So, in order for me to get you an accurate offer that's actually going to close, because we are buying a lot of properties here, I just need to know a little bit about the condition of the property and know exactly what time frame you're looking to sell it within. So, is there anything in the property that I need to be aware of that needs to be fixed?
Well, I can tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I get a bunch of calls. You guys ask me the same questions. And then you come with lowball offers. So I'm not entertaining any lowball offers. That's number one. My property, I will sell it at the right price,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not in a rush. I don't need to sell this property. But if you guys make an offer that makes sense, then, we can take that conversation further. If not, then we can cut ties here and we can hang up, right?
So let's start here. Is it an occupied property that's a rental for you?
Yeah,
or do
I
you
live in it.
there?
I
Oh,
live
you
here.
live there. Okay. Do you already have a place if you sell it that you would go to?
For the right price, I'll move tomorrow.
Where would you move?
No, I don't know, nearby.
So you'd stay in Jacksonville here?
Yeah.
Locally?
Been here for 30 years, so yes.
Nice. You've owned that house for 30 years
That's
too?
right.
I'm assuming you have no mortgage on it anymore.
Well, that's none of your business, but I don't.
The reason I ask, Juan, is because if we do make you an offer, I want to make sure I get you an offer that's going to pay off the mortgage if it does exist.
Well, it better, because if that offer doesn't make sense.
So is there a mortgage on the property?
No, there isn't. I loaned it for over 30 years.
Free and clear, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
I like that. Is this the only property you own, or do you own other properties too?
No, this is my property. This is the only one I have. Yeah.
Okay. So if you sell this one, what time frame would you like to sell it within? Because I'm assuming you're going to have to go buy another one or get a rental.
No, it doesn't matter to me. I'll move today, or I can move in 6 months. I can move in a year. I have no rush or time frame at all.
Okay. So you said you have no rush, no time frame, but you would consider selling the property for
At
the right price.
That's right.
Have you spoke with any agents about selling this?
No, because I'm not in a situation where I need to sell. I keep getting these phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys continue to state that you want to buy my property and making
Who is this
lowball offers.
you guys? Who are you getting calls from? Because I'm
It's like-
assuming you're just getting calls from telemarketers.
I don't know if it's telemarketers, but you all sound the same. It's all cash buyers, and you guys want to make an offer on my property, and here, you guys just kind of do these lowball offer stuff.
Because in order for me to even get you an offer, first of all, I wouldn't just get you one offer. I wouldn't get you one cash offer. We have different exit strategies that we can present to you. I can get you a cash offer. I can get you an offer with creative solution where we pay you monthly. I can get you a lot of different offers. It's just going to depend on what your situation is and what you're looking to accomplish. So if you tell me, Sam, I'm trying to move into this penthouse in downtown San Marco, it's going to be a different offer that I'm going to make you from the cash offer that you may say, hey, I don't need anything. I'm going to go buy an RV and go travel the country. So I just need to know what your situation is so that I can tailor my offer to what your situation is.
I completely understand, but again, you guys can go do your analysis and figure out how much you would pay for the property.
Help me do my analysis though, because how would I know what the house
Sure,
looks
so
like
what do
on
you
the
need to
inside?
know?
Well, first tell me what the roof is. Is the roof brand new? Have you replaced it in the last 5 years?
Yeah, so after the last hurricane, I replaced it 10 years ago. So good roof, no issues, no leaks whatsoever.
It seems like from the tonality that you're giving me, everything in the house is pretty much in good shape.
Yeah.
So why don't we focus on the things that may need repairs? Is there anything in the house I need to be aware of?
Why don't you come look at it?
When would you like me to come look at it?
So, I mean, what's your availability? I'm here. I'm retired. I'm just here, hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when you want to come.
Do you
I'll
live
show
there
you
by
around.
yourself, or is there someone else?
Yeah, I live here by myself.
Perfect.
My wife passed away 5 years ago.
Perfect. So we can schedule an appointment for me to come look at the property. I just need a little bit more information to see if we're even going to be the right fit for
Sure,
you.
go ahead.
So you're telling me there's no issues with the house and it's in pristine
That's
condition.
correct. Pride of ownership. I cut the grass. I paint it. Take care of everything. It may not have the fancy schmancy 2024 appliances and things that somebody else can put in this house, but it's a fine house, good bones, structurally, and everything is working perfectly. So,
Super curious, man. Why would you even consider selling this?
like I said, you guys call me all the time.
So you're
I'm just here to.
considering selling it just because we call you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only reason.
Everything in life is for sale except your wife and kids.
Really?
That's right.
Okay.
Hey,
So at
I
the
have
right-
an AI phone call that says different.
I would agree with you. I would
Yeah.
definitely agree with you. I think one more thing is not for sale. I'm not going to tell you what it is unless you tell me the price on your house.
Sure. So what are you guys offering? Because you said that you had an offer for me.
So here's the thing. I don't know your house as well as you know your house. And I don't know the number that's going to motivate you to sell it. So I don't want to waste your time or my time figuring out what the repairs are, coming out there, looking at the house, and then putting a deal together that's not going to make sense to you.
Correct.
So help me understand, what is that number that's going to move you? If I can't get to that number, I simply won't continue to waste your time, and I'll tell you, you know what, man? The only way you get it is if you list it on the market, or maybe you're completely unrealistic, or maybe it's a number that I can come to be able to make sense of it. So I'm not in your position. You have to help me with that. Is that a number that's over what the house is worth, under what the house is worth, and what the house is even worth to you?
Mm. Well, I can tell you that Zillow says the property is worth $275, so I need to be in that ballpark in order for me to even consider selling this property.
So the number that you're looking for is 275?
Around that ballpark, yeah.
Okay. What's the ballpark mean? Like
275.
Okay. Do you understand that if you were to list this house, you wouldn't get the 275?
Correct, but I am not listing the property because I don't need to list it. You guys make your offer how you see fit, and if it works, then great, we have a deal. If it doesn't,
So if I make you an offer at $275,000 right now, you'd be ready to move forward with this?
potentially we can start a conversation at that price point.
A conversation. Okay. So if I get an approval at $275,000, we're in the conversation
That's
and we
correct.
can get this done.
Absolutely. When are you coming over?
So let me do this. First of all, I can get you your $275,000 Juan. So I don't think we're wasting any time. I can't get the $275,000 price point approved though, unless you're open to creative terms. Is that something you'd be open to?
What do you mean by creative?
That's a great question. So in order for me to get you a higher price on your house and pay retail for it and still be able to make sense of it as an investment, I would simply need to get the terms while I give you the price that you're looking for. So what I want you to become is, instead of you becoming a seller, I want you to become my bank.
I'm not interested in that.
How do you know?
Because I'm not a bank.
Why wouldn't you want to be a bank?
Because I don't need to be a bank.
Have you even thought about it?
Nope, never crossed my mind.
Do you even know how it would work?
No, absolutely not. But I'm not interested in being the bank.
How could you be not interested in something you don't know how it works?
Because if you guys are going to make an offer on this property, you guys are taking it as is, how is, where is at my
We would
price
still
point.
take it as is, how it is, where
And
it
I want to
is.
get paid outright. I'm not interested in staying in the
So
deal.
let me ask you this. Once you get the $275,000, where does the money go?
Personally, my good sir, it's none of your business.
And I agree with you. The only reason I ask you is because once you get $275,000, if you're just going to stick it in the bank, you're not going to, because at the end of the day, this is a financial transaction, right? You're not looking at this as a personal, emotional transaction. You're looking at it as how do I make the most money out of my house,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So in order for you to make the most money out of your house, once you get the money, you're also going to look for a return, I'm assuming, on that money that you receive. Isn't that the case?
Well, I would have to find somewhere to live.
Correct.
Right.
Which is why we would be able to give you a down payment that you can utilize to go get another property.
So what's your offer? You want to put that in writing?
I can put that in writing. So is that
Fantastic.
something you're open to now?
Sure. Send me information and we'll entertain it.
Well, tell me how much of a down payment you're looking for. Because if I was to walk into a Chase Bank and tell them, hey, I'm going to get a loan from you and here's the terms I'm going to give you, they would have laughed at me.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the terms that you would be able to offer me?
Well, I would at least need 50%.
50% down.
That's right.
Okay. How would I be able to make sense of that?
I don't know. That's up to you and your company.
Okay.
Right.
So it just seems like you're not really even looking to sell this property and you'd rather just stay and die in there.
As I mentioned in the beginning of our conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? You guys call stating that you want to make an offer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to entertain an offer because you never know what may lead out of that. But I'm giving you the condition of the property, I'm giving you my pricing, and it's totally up to you to figure out how you would make that happen and if you guys are interested in that pricing.
Right.
Otherwise, I don't need to sell and I will die in this property if I have to.
So it seems like that would be the best option for you.
Yes, I guess I'm dying in my house.
You're dying in your house,
That's
Juan. You have a great day. If anything changes, call me back or I might check in with you within about 30 to 40 days.
Thank
You got it.
you.
Like,
I like a lot of things.
Okay.
I like a lot of things because you're persistent and you kept going and you're trying to, figure the whole thing out. But there's just so many layers that weren't covered. And I know that you're really good, and obviously we're on the spot. But like that intro, you read right into like, oh, giving you a call in regards to such and such property and make you an offer and the whole thing. And it's just like you should have First of all, you should have been a little bit more friendly. Hey, Juan. Hey, this is right. And then it's like Juan who? Wait for it. Right? Wait for that because you're doing a dialogue, right? If you call your buddy, right? Hey, I'm gonna be like, hey, Dominic Felix. No, hey Dom. Hey, who's this? Hey, this is Juan. Juan who? And you're doing the dialogue. Oh, sorry, my man, you actually don't know me. And look, I'm not here to waste any of your time. You gotta do that.
So I messed up the intro.
Yeah, that intro is like it has to be spot on. Obviously we kept going, and I didn't hang up on you because obviously we're doing the.
Was I to call you back?
Right. Yeah, and I probably would have never answered, but
from a different number.
From that standpoint, hey Dom, right? Like Dom is gonna be like, yeah, hey, I'm not here to waste any of your time. You actually don't know me. I know you get tons of calls, so now. Because you have to understand what kind of marketing.
The whole first 60 seconds.
Yeah.
You guys call me all the time, and you say you're gonna make an offer, and blah blah blah. I already know that's gonna happen. Why? Because it came from an AI speakly lead.
Right.
It's still cold calling.
Right.
Whether it's AI, whether it's a cold caller, whether it's whatever it is, it was an outreach.
Right.
I know you get tons of calls about your property on 123 Main Street. Trust me, I'm not here to waste any of your time. Man, you just cut out so many different objections. Hey, I just want to know if you would even consider selling that property there on 123 Main Street. Well, I mean, at the right price. Oh man, did I catch it at a bad time by chance? Right? Get that permission? No, it's a good time. What you got? Well, look, you actually don't know me, right? This is what we do. You just went into like going through the whole thing, right?
Right.
I could have disqualified that guy from the very beginning, and I'm not in the business of freaking disqualifying leads because you want to go through and figure out like
right
if there's something there. But if I tell you, hey, listen, I specialize in buying properties in this area. I've been doing so for the last 10 years, right? I provide a process super straightforward. I can buy in cash. I can buy as is. I can close in as little as 30 days or that time of your choosing, right? Does any of that make sense? Then you have a dialogue. Yeah, that makes sense. And, on top of that, we'll make sure we cover all the closing costs. If you need help with an attorney, if you need help with a title company, we will assign that. We'll take care of that out of our own pocket. Process is super duper simple. I just need to ask you some questions about the property, see if it's even a good fit for what we're looking to purchase. I know that we called you, but we make tons of these calls. Not everybody's looking to sell, and not every single property that lands on our desk is a good fit. So if you just give me a couple minutes, I'll ask you a couple questions about the property, and then we can just determine if it makes sense. Look, at any point this doesn't make sense to you, just let me know. We'll cut this conversation.
I like that.
You're giving them
Right?
the exit.
Versus just going and going and going and going. This guy's telling you, I don't need to sell. I don't have to sell. You did good with the whole realtor thing. I don't need to sell. Right? I don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I haven't listed it. So you kind of discover a lot of that stuff when you take the time to do those pieces, right? So that maybe you don't, oh, I don't need to sell or when you say, hey, we buy properties to fix them up, provide them to new families. This is what we specialize in. We buy in cash. We buy them as is. Hey, my house is perfect. Oh, so this may not even be a qualified property for us because our specialty is to upgrade them, add the value so we can sell it to a new family, make a little bit of margin so we can feed our families.
Right.
Right? So now it's like, well, tell me.
You have to do this while you're on the phone.
You actually should.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can
sense it. They sense it.
Hear the
They're like,
smile.
Sam, did you just pick up your hand and squinch your thumb and pointer finger?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. They feel it. I tell my guys, hey, get a mirror.
I like
Get a mirror because they can tell if you're sad, happy, whatever. Your tonality is big, right? I get some guys I'm listening to their call. I'm like, bro, were you asleep? Like you just literally wake up and make that call. Like you didn't sound excited at all. I wouldn't want to do business with you either.
No.
So those little tweaks change everything in these people's businesses.
So we do round 2 next podcast.
Yeah, we do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the buyer next time, right?
All right.
Dude, you could probably do a role-playing podcast.
Yeah.
They
love that.
Yeah.
Oh, they love that.
We talked about it doing a podcast called Yesterday, right? Where we just have a podcast and we talk about everything that happened yesterday because there's always a ton of shit going on every single day.
You know what my clients love the most is listening to my calls. So if you're an expert, you have those recorded calls and you can give that to your client, right? Or whomever you're working with, your training or whatever, and you give them an example. They love that stuff. How'd you overcome that, sub 2, conversation? How'd you even enter into that?
That's why live calls are so hot all the time. People love that. So when we do our weekly wholesale mastermind trainings, which are free to the entire public, Sam will get on the call and do lots of calls.
Yeah.
Dude, so not this past one, he shit the bed actually on this past one. But dude, the week prior and the week before that, he locked up 2 deals contracts over the phone at good numbers.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. That was hard on you.
Both of them are sold though.
Are they sold?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. One was. Were they both sub 2s?
No, one was sub 2, one was a cash.
So they were signed and everything. They're gone.
I'm not closed. Not closed. I don't think
you were a disqualified lead though from the beginning. Like I just wanted to keep the conversation going.
It was good. Yeah. I like that persistence, and some people are.
Dude, it's so huge because these people need time because that whole thing that you talked about, getting to know you, trust you, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in a 3-minute call.
It doesn't. And I tell my guys,
30 minutes on the phone. Plus,
I'm not qualifying a deal. I'm not qualifying anything inked if the conversation wasn't longer than 25 to 30 minutes. Because I know you did not. It's impossible. Look how long it took us to get through that role play and we got nowhere, right? Because I wasn't a right seller.
Right.
How can you have possibly, and so nothing against the Closers Olympics. I hate that shit. I fucking despise that shit. And people have asked me to go. I'm like, I don't do that. That's not my style.
I don't want to shit on anyone.
Yeah.
But sometimes you feel like they're locking them up at retail.
They just give them whatever number. They say a number, 75,000. I give you 72.
Because in a lot of cases, I hear them giving them the number they asked for.
So, I mean, you're really a closer. And whatever. Let's just say the deal goes through. You get it.
Dude, are we starting beef with people?
Oh, we are starting beef with people.
Okay.
But again, like I respect everybody in the game. I don't really have beef with anybody. But think about that whole process. My whole thing is at the end, you get it inked, and then you're going through the motions of dispositioning the property or purchasing the property, and then there's just so much layers that weren't covered. Sellers wanting to back out. The deal was crap from the beginning. We didn't discover like true condition of the property, pain point, the whole thing, and it just collapses. Right.
I mean, the condition is really important, man. You need to know how to discount that property to get out at a transactable number.
Right.
Totally.
Oh, we can go on for days with this stuff.
A lot of wasted energy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, dude, We appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah,
This was cool. It
that was
went too
sweet.
fast.
It
It
went
did.
super
It
fast.
almost justifies like how Joe Rogan does 3-hour podcasts. Sometimes
Yeah.
those seem fast, but these
Right.
hour podcasts, they go super fast.
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah,
I do.
Yeah, especially when you have someone on that knows what the hell they're talking about.
Mhm.
absolutely. It's always
Man, I
interesting.
Cool, man.
appreciate you guys inviting me. I mean, this was fun. We could do
Oh,
this again.
100%,
Oh,
100%. Do me
yeah.
a favor. For anyone that wants to contact you to pick your brain, maybe use
Yeah.
your services or anything above, how can they reach you?
Yeah, no, the easiest way is going to be Instagram. On all social medias, whether you want to find me on TikTok or Facebook, but Instagram is probably the number one place. Mr. ACQ, that's Mr.ACQ. And yeah, just send me a message. I'll be more than happy to answer questions. Have a call with you if you qualify. Because again, I don't work with absolutely everybody, but if you're a team out there and you're looking for optimization, we can have that chat. But yeah, that's the best place you can find me, man.
I heard you were about to do live seller calls on Twitch.
Yeah,
I
that sounds like a phenomenal idea. Why
wonder if
not?
anyone's doing that on Twitch. That's
I don't
only
even
gaming
know.
stuff,
I think
right?
it's gaming, but
I don't know, I'm 45 years old. I don't know what the
You
hell
got to
that
play a
is.
game and call sellers at
Right?
the same
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Oh,
You,
shit.
you know what? Once you're trained up, you're able to do that. I honestly do make calls
It's easy,
while
yeah.
doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's just because again, it's a framework, right? And
Right.
and these businesses have to develop, a rinse and repeat model. And so the conversations are always the same. And I tell all my students and clients, like the conversations are always going to sound the same. Yeah, you're having
Systematic.
different rapport building stuff like that, but it's very systematic. That's the only way you know that your acquisition person did the right job because all the calls are exactly the same.
Yep.
You know, if I make an underwriting call or if I call like a quality control call, because I do that all the time, I call the seller, be like, hey, tell me a little bit about what this agent said, and I want to apologize if something was missed, but tell me a little bit about this, and then they'll tell me some X, Y, and Z situation, and I know that my person killed it. They
Oh
crushed
wow.
it.
Yeah,
Right?
one thing I've always told my sales guys
I love
is
that.
like when you have that framework and it's repetitious,
Yeah,
it might be boring to you,
yeah,
but it's brand new to
it's brand
them.
new.
Yep.
And if you're an expert in your field and you convey it the correct way, your experiences are going to be so much
100%,
better.
100%.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right, guys. Well,
Sweet.
once again, thank you guys for joining us every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the All Leads Sucks podcast here on Facebook and also on youtube.com/All Leads Suck. Guys, my name is Dominic,
This is Sam.
Lewis.
and we
We had
had
Mr. Act
Mr.
today.
ACQ in the building, and we appreciate your time. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you guys.
Hey.